Star Trek wanted Chris Pine's Captain James T. Kirk to make two different comebacks, but unfortunately, neither could happen. Pine and the cast of J.J. Abrams' Star Trek 2009 proved the iconic crew of Star Trek, the original series, USS Enterprise, could be successfully recast with younger actors. Pine became the first actor to play Captain Kirk other than William Shatner, embodying the captain of the Enterprise in 3 movies produced by J.J. Abrams, the last being Star Trek Beyond in 2016. Star Trek on Paramount Plus has brought back numerous Star Trek legacy actors and characters, including the cast of Star Trek: The Next Generation in Star Trek Picard Season 3, and most of Star Trek Voyager's cast, led by Kate Mulgrew as Admiral Catherine Janeway in Star Trek Prodigy. Star Trek's animated series, Star Trek Lower Decks, and Star Trek Prodigy have made it easier for aging Star Trek actors to simply voice their characters while appearing at whatever age that's appropriate for the 24th century. Even George Takei reprised Captain Hikaru Sulu in a Star Trek Lower Decks dream sequence. But Chris Pine's Captain Kirk appears to be animated Star Trek's White Whale. Star Trek Lower Decks' creator and showrunner Mike McMahon wanted Chris Pine to reprise Captain Kirk in the animated comedy. On stage at Star Trek Lower Decks Season 5's premiere event at Newport Beach Film Festival, alongside Star Trek Lower Decks actors Jerry O'Connell, Noel Wells, and Eugene Cordero, in a panel moderated by Scott Mantz, McMahon surprised and delighted the audience by explaining his aborted idea to bring in Chris Pine as Captain Kirk. Watch the video below. As Mike McMahon explained, Star Trek Lower Decks is a Rosetta Stone that contains enough references and Easter eggs that a layman can grasp the wider Star Trek universe. Captain Kirk is arguably the most iconic Star Trek captain and the most well-known alongside Patrick Stewart's Captain Jean-Luc Picard. Before Paul Wesley became Lt. James T. Kirk on Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Kirk was conspicuously missing from Star Trek on Paramount Plus. Meanwhile, Chris Pine is more popular with the general audience, who saw J.J. Abrams' Star Trek movies. Chris Pine on Star Trek Lower Decks is certainly a fascinating missed opportunity, but many issues prevented it from happening. Star Trek Prodigy's creators also harbored an unfulfilled idea to incorporate Chris Pine's Captain Kirk into Star Trek Prodigy Season 2, a sweeping epic about saving Star Trek's multiverse from annihilation. Star Trek Prodigy Season 2, Episode 14, Cracked Mirror, saw the young crew of the USS Protostar, led by Captain Chakotay, Robert Beltran, visit a handful of alternate realities, including the Mirror Universe. In an exclusive interview with Screen Rant, Star Trek Prodigy co-executive producer Aaron J. Walke explains their idea to bring in Chris Pine's Captain Kirk. Read Aaron's quote below. Star Trek Prodigy's discarded idea for Chris Pine's Captain Kirk sounds even more expansive than what Star Trek Lower Decks might have been. Having Chris Pine's Kirk help the USS Prodigy's young heroes for a couple of episodes would have been the most significant time Pine spent as Kirk since Star Trek Beyond, even if it's just a voice role. Star Trek Prodigy Season 2 did reference J.J. Abrams' Star Trek movies Kelvin timeline when Wesley Crusher, Will Wheaton, name-dropped the Narada incident in Star Trek 2009, so there was a tiny nod to Chris Pine's universe as Captain Kirk. Chris Pine is a gifted and charismatic leading man, and an animated comeback for his Kelvin timeline Captain Kirk would have worked because Pine is also an accomplished voiceover actor in animated feature films. Pine voiced Jack Frost in DreamWorks' Rise of the Guardians, He was King Magnifico in Disney's Wish, and he played Peter Parker / Spider-Man in Sony's Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Pine likely would have jumped at the chance to play Captain Kirk again, even if it was just voicing the captain of the Enterprise in a Star Trek animated series.